Hi, my name is Steve Valdez and I manage the school district's K-West program and Performing Arts Center for Weslaco ISD. But today I'm going to play the role of a school finance manager, or at the very least, someone that can explain the proposed Tax Ratification Election, or TRE, to be held Tuesday, November 8th, 2011. I'll be honest with you, it's not an easy topic to understand, and it took me several visits with our superintendent and chief financial officer to try to understand and simplify the process. So if you hear me repeating myself several times over, that's only to make sure that the information you hear and see is clear and that it makes sense to you. Let's start with what I think is the most important fact. The tax ratification election will be held on Tuesday, November 8, 2011. The only place to vote will be at Gene Brott Memorial Theater, right next to the public library at 525 South Kansas. Other items on the ballot include 10 state constitution amendments, but the one we will be addressing here is the TRE, or Tax Ratification Election. So what is a TRE? Let's start by picking apart these three words. The first word is tax. We all know what taxes are. We pay taxes for everything we buy, from clothes to groceries, gas, and even for entertainment when we go out to eat or to the movies. Taxes are taken from our checks, and from those same checks, we pay taxes on the property we own and for the value of our homes that we live in. Now let's look at the word ratification. The dictionary says the word ratification is a noun. So let's turn the word into a verb so we can understand the action behind the word. The definition of the word ratify is to approve and sanction formally. That means you, the taxpayer, has to approve and sanction formally. That means through an election, with your vote, to have the final say in a decision made by the school board of Weslaco ISD. 260 school districts across the state have already passed tax ratification elections.
Okay, item number 4, discussion and possible action for the board to consider to adopt an order calling a special tax ratification election, TRE.
And at a special board meeting held August 30th, 2011, the school board decided to adopt an order calling a special tax ratification election, or TRE, for November 8th, 2011, here in Weslaco.
All those in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
So let's summarize what we've learned so far. A TRE, or tax ratification election, means that our voting population in Weslaco will have the opportunity to make the final decision on a school district's plan to make changes in the tax rate. We'll talk more specifically about those changes, but for now, the most important thing is to know that these proposed changes have to be approved by our voters in Weslaco through an election. Now let's talk about how the school district hopes to make changes in the tax rate that will require your vote. I should first point out that this is not an election to decide on a tax increase of any kind. This is worth saying again. This is not an election to decide on a tax increase. This graph shows a list of many of the school district tax rates in the Valley. You can see here that Weslaco's tax rate is $1.14, the second lowest tax rate on this list of schools. $1.14 is the amount of taxes homeowners in Weslaco pay for every $100 your property is worth. The money collected from taxes each year is divided up into two funds. One of the funds is called the Maintenance and Operations Fund, or in short, the M&O, and the other is the Interest and Sinking Fund, or INS. From the taxes collected each year based on the $1.14 tax rate, $1.04 is placed in the M&O fund, and 0.0997 cents goes into the INS fund. But for the rest of this video, we'll round up that figure to 10 pennies. So together, the two combined tax rates equal 1.1397, and again, we'll round off that number to $1.14. The M&O fund pays for the everyday operating expenses of running a school district. The INS fund is money to pay back the interest and principal from previous bonds. It's like money's used for paying back loans from previous school years. So why is this information important? These have been hard economic times for our school districts across the state of Texas. Budget cuts have caused school districts to fire teachers and force early retirement and slash programs that affect student achievement.
So let's turn the page, please.
None of that happened here in Weslaco ISD. No programs were cut. No teachers lost their jobs. In fact, all Weslaco ISD teachers earned a $1,000 raise. But this past year, the state legislature cut $5.7 million from Weslaco ISD's operating budget, and then they plan to cut another $1.7 million next year. These budget cuts have forced us to find ways to make up the cuts that we received from the state. One of those ways was to move money the district received from tax collections from the INS account over to the M&O account. So what is significant about this move? The state has a formula for rewarding school districts for the amount of taxes they collect. That formula is called local effort. When the school district places tax dollars into the two different M&O and INS fund, the state rewards the district differently depending on which fund we apply tax dollars to. For example, the 10 pennies that are placed in the INS account, for every dollar we collect in taxes, there are no matching funds from the state. Whatever the school district collects and places in the INS fund maintains the same exact value dollar for dollar. The taxes we collect that are placed in the M&O account, the state applies a different formula. That formula is a 3-to-1 ratio. For every tax dollar we collect and place in the M&O account, the state matches that $1 by giving us $3 more. So when we move the 10 pennies over from the INS account to the M&O account, the state's ratio is higher and more beneficial to the district. We get $3 back from the state for every $1 we collect in taxes. So let's see how much money this proposed move would generate for Weslaco ISD. We could approach this by telling you how much money the school district collected in taxes last year and how the state's ratio was applied, but we'd have to place a lot of numbers on the screen and that could be even more confusing. So let's leave out some of those details so we can arrive at a simpler conclusion. The act of moving the 10 pennies over from the INS fund to the M&O fund would generate an additional $2 million that the district would not get without making this move. This action is where the word ratification comes into play. The election ratifies moving the tax rate from the INS to the M&O fund. Remember how the 10 pennies in the INS fund was intended to pay back school district debt? Well, those debts don't go away, not this year or the years after. But as long as we continue to benefit from the state's matching funds at a 3-to-1 ratio, the surplus the district earns from moving the 10 pennies allows us to pay back the school district's debt and still have money left over to pay other school expenses and district costs. So let's take another moment to summarize again. On November 8, 2011, our voters in Weslaco will be given the opportunity to ratify the tax rate approved by the School Board of Trustees. If the voters approve the ratification election, the district will receive an additional $2 million. This is money that we would not receive without moving money from the INS account over to the M&O account. Now that we've established the more technical aspect of the election, let's talk about how the district plans to use the additional revenue. Do keep in mind that in some ways it's not additional revenue since the state already cut our school district's budget by $5.7 million. The items on this list would have already existed even if the state had not cut our budget. But through this proposed tax ratification election, we would be able to recover some of the money cut by the state. The district plans to improve the teacher-to-student ratio to 22 students to 1 teacher. That may mean hiring more school teachers since the community of Weslaco continues to grow, and a smaller teacher-to-student ratio means each student is getting more individualized attention and instruction. The funds generated from this tax ratification election would also be applied to our technology initiatives. As new technology is developed and as software is upgraded, it's essential to keep our classrooms well equipped so that our students can learn, explore, and are ready to compete in a global environment. We have had tremendous success in our after-school programs in multimedia and robotics. These funds will allow us to continue to expand this program and to provide opportunities for more boys and girls to participate. We have surveillance systems throughout the district that need upgrading. These surveillance systems help us protect our students and school district property and are an essential component to our security initiatives. Part of living in South Texas means that we have the sun beaming down on us almost every day of the year. And that means more stress on our building roofs and cooling systems. So some of the money will go towards roof and HVAC repairs and improvements district-wide. A citizens committee met on August 15th of 2011 and reviewed all of the district's facility needs and will help us prioritize our decision on how we plan to spend the money. Now let's go back and review one more important fact. This is not an election for a tax increase. This election has no effect on your property values or the amount of taxes you currently pay. We showed you at the beginning of this video that the taxes you pay on your property is at $1.14 for every $100 your property is worth. If voters approve the tax ratification election and the 10 pennies are moved from the INS account to the M&O account, the amount of taxes you pay stays the same. The total tax rate is still at $1.14. If the election fails, notice that the tax rate still stays the same. The only difference is voters would have decided not to allow the district to move monies from one account to the other, but in the end, with either decision made by voters, the tax rate stays the same at $1.14. And if the election passes, the district will receive the additional $2 million. These are hard economic times for school districts across the state, and even though we have hope that things will get better soon in our state's economy, we must still make adjustments for budget cuts that have been passed down from the state this year and next year.
A folk tale, very good.
Regardless of the state's budget cuts, Weslaco ISD did not lose teachers. We did not cut programs. The success of our students was not at risk at any time. In fact, we continue to excel academically and fiscally. For 14 out of the last 16 years, our district has received the Texas Education Agency Recognized School District rating. The consistency of this academic accomplishment is one that no other school district in the Valley can claim. Our district continues to build new schools and create state-of-the-art learning environments for all of our students. Our facilities and resources are unparalleled by any other school district in the Valley and accomplished through one of the lowest tax rates on record. Our school board of trustees and superintendent worked hand in hand and voted unanimously to allow you, the voters, to decide the outcome of this tax ratification election. The confidence is placed in your hands on Tuesday, November 8th, 2011, and we encourage you to vote. Early vote begins Monday, October 24th, 2011, and again, Election Day is November 8th. We'll see you then, and thank you for watching.